Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Holistics Highlights. This is episode 8 of the podcast, and glad everybody's here. I'm Scott Kaplan, along with Alex Padilla and John Browner, and the brains of our operation. She runs all the marketing at Torrey Holistics and California Holistics. Ruthie Edelson is here. Ruthie, this is the first time we're ever about to have somebody on the show that none of us have ever met before. Are you excited about the unknown?
Yes, I always love the unknown. So fun to walk into the fire.
Yeah, we have no idea what's about to happen here. Really. We have Paul Roethle, who's about to join us here in a second. He's the founder and CEO of the brand Chemistry, and none of us have ever met Paul before.
Is this the first chemist we've ever
Uh,
spoken to?
On the show, yes.
Yeah, this is our first PhD.
Nah, we'll slow down. Slow down. So second. So second. We all know I'm a doctor.
Non-TV PhD.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know you. I didn't know that as you're in your doctor life. I didn't know you were a PhD. I thought you were an MD this whole time.
All the D's, if you know what I mean.
Ruthie, this brand Chemistry, I must admit, and I'm happy to tell Paul as well, but I've never used this brand before. And I went into the shop knowing that Paul was getting ready to join us on the show, and I bought 2 of their carts. So I'm super excited to try them. I've never used their products. I'm not familiar with their brand. Do you use their products? Do you know their brand well?
Yeah, I do. I use their tincture quite a bit. You know, I'm a high CBD user, so they do have really great CBD products. So I actually also bought a CBD vape, and so I'm going to try this, but I'm almost out of my tincture. I use tincture morning and nighttime. We talked about this on a previous episode.
What flavor you got there?
I have Trident. So yeah, I got to go get some more. I always need to have my tincture.
Tinctures
The
line.
best
Never use
compliment
tinctures.
the best compliment you can give to any brand is the bottle's empty.
Yeah, true.
That's
That is
true.
so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never use
Yeah.
tinctures
Mhm.
ever. Alex, you like
Ah.
tinctures, right?
Yeah, I'm currently out. I ran out last week, so I need to go back. You know what? I'm gonna go to California Holistics.
Nice.
I'm gonna drive in. I think it's closer.
You're
I think
probably like in the
we run right
middle.
directly in the middle.
We are
We're like
directly in the middle. Yes, as
Yeah.
a person who's been
But
to
I think-
both.
But I will tell you, traffic is less going south.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I will
it
go
is.
that way.
Yeah. And don't forget
Yeah.
to use your code.
Yes.
Well, right now our code, we're still in the month of May. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, and my goodness, don't we as a country need mental health
Yeah.
awareness? And so listen, right now through the month of May, and I realize we're kind of getting late, and we'll have a new code for you in June, so you can always check back with us. But right now the code is mental, and you can save 20% at Torrey or at California Holistics.
This month's promo code will be in the
Oh,
description.
okay, great. Because
Good
it's going to
point.
change.
Good point.
It's definitely going to
Yeah.
change.
Yes.
Well, let's do it. Listen, we've none of us have ever met Paul before. Most of us are hearing about the brand Chemistry and learning about it for the first time. So let's just jump right in. Here's Paul Roethle. He is the founder and CEO of Chemistry, and his website is trychemistry.com. All right, everybody, we're all getting a chance to meet Paul Roethle, who is the founder and CEO at Chemistry. We're all getting to meet Paul at the exact same time, Ruthie. I mean, normally our guests on Holistics Highlights, you generally know everybody because they come in and out of the shop. This is our first chance to meet Paul. None of us have ever met before. This is very unique. So I'll ask you, Ruthie, what inspired the invitation for Paul and Chemistry today?
Yeah, so we've been working with Chemistry for a really long time. I think since 2017, right, Paul?
I think so. Yeah, it's been many years.
Yeah.
Dog
Yeah,
years,
many.
even longer.
Yeah, true. So we have been working with Chemistry for a long time. I typically was working with Katrina and Jessica, who are both no longer with Chemistry. They were both wonderful. Katrina was in marketing, so we did a lot of great marketing things with Chemistry. But now we work with Jimmy. I mean, Paul is running the whole company, so we don't really see him at Torrey. I'm not sure where you're out of, Paul. Are you
We're
in
in-
Northern
we're in
California?
We're in West Oakland, yeah.
Okay.
And I apologize for not visiting. It's like long overdue. And Yeah, my tours through SoCal are not frequent enough.
Yes,
Well, yeah.
sometimes, yeah. Northern California is definitely a different market than Southern California.
We're hoping to come for towards the end of the Weed Like Change campaign, which I hope we can talk about. You know,
Yes.
us that are working together to amplify these messages and educate on, one, quality cannabis but regenerative cannabis first and foremost. And so I'm hoping to actually make it there this summer. And so I look forward to seeing y'all in person.
Yeah, well, we would love to have you. It's been a very, very successful campaign for us. And yeah, we've loved educating all of our customers and our listeners on the campaign.
Well, Paul, you said it, that, hey, hopefully we get a chance to talk about that today. So why don't we start there? What is it? I mean, just if you could fill us all in on what you're talking about, because everybody who's watching and listening, some will know, and others, frankly, like myself, I'm actually unaware. So please.
Yeah, I'd love to. The Weed Like Change campaign is one that we launched, an alliance of farms and brands and retailers and nonprofits coming together to really talk about how critical of a time this is for cannabis, and especially small craft cannabis. This industry in California is challenging, to say the least, and to survive in this competitive, amazing market, you need to have great partners and partnerships and working together, especially when you're small, like chemistry and like a lot of these brands. So it's led by Sun and Earth, who is a nonprofit that certifies outdoor farms beyond organic. So it's about their cultivation practices, but also about how we engage with the community, how we take care of our employees. So, that it starts at the farm, and then chemistry is part of this because we think, as you guys know, not all product is smoked. So it matters what goes into your other products, into your edibles, into your tinctures, into your, everything, into your dabs. So it matters, where this starts. Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad you said that. So, Paul, I'm going to jump in. So, here's the thing. This is episode 8 of the Holistics Highlights podcast. In episode 7, we were talking about the Garcia brand, and Ruthie, I feel like in that episode, so much of it was about flower, and I even asked at one point, how do you smoke it? But when it comes to chemistry, Paul, we're talking about other variations of cannabis, and I'm glad we're having this conversation today because I almost feel like if you don't use flower now, it's as if like, oh, you're not getting most natural stuff, or you're not. And I personally don't like smoke. So I would much rather use a vape cartridge like this. So can you just tell us a little bit about the vape cartridge versus using flower?
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, inhalation and orally is also an important topic, something that we take seriously, like you, about educating for, new consumers or any consumer, just understanding that difference in effect and experience. So, smoking versus vaping obviously is the first comparison of like inhalation, and which I think honestly is like the easiest way to start. I think the experience is more predictable and sooner. So I always try to get beginners to go that way instead of edibles, honestly. But there is the apprehension of things in your lungs, especially in this COVID era. It happens.
So
But yeah, oh, go ahead.
when you start a program like this and we need change, that's the positive you want to see come out of it. You started it for a reason. So what's the worst case scenario of if your program doesn't necessarily affect the change that you want to see?
We keep working. If it doesn't get through to everyone right off the bat and the change doesn't happen immediately, it's just going to take more work from all of us. We've been doing this for almost more than 6 years, and it's a mission to bring this plant and medicine to everyone. So, we're educating about regenerative agriculture, which, then connects to quality cannabis products. So, I think that message is going to continue to resonate, and people are, talking about climate change regularly. So we got to connect the dots of like how your choices as a consumer matter, from the food you buy to the weed you smoke to the tincture you medicate with, all these things matter. And if we don't get to everyone, we're just going to keep educating.
Do you see the stigma or the people realizing the benefits of cannabis starting to grow rapidly because of how fast it's becoming legal, not federally legal, but state by state. It seems like every single time that it is on the ballot, it's just like, yes, you never really hear about things getting shot down anymore. It's about growing across the country. Do you find that stigma is evaporating rapidly, or is there still like a ton of work to do?
I mean, legislatively, like on that state by state basis, we're doing pretty well. I think on the federal level, we have a long way to go, because of the federal inaction, might be a nice way to say it. People are still in prison. We can't access banking like we should. So there's all these things that just because they're like, oh, the states will do it, like there's these effects that they're not thinking about, like the people really that are impacted by this inaction.
See, because I think that the way that it is now, I wish that we could cocoon it, not necessarily from a federal standpoint, but just the way that the people who are involved in it. Because like I said, this is our eighth one. And every person who we speak to, they have a natural love and guidance within the industry. When it does federally pass, because it will over time, all things tend to.
Yep.
When bigger companies come in and parachute and just use it as a money-making tool, that's the part about it, the business, that I fear for the most, because there's so many good people working in this industry. When it becomes only money guided, I think that's when we're really going to have to start seeing real change be implemented.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think, California has some warts in its system, but I think all of us that are in these legal states can hopefully have some influence on what happens nationally. But yeah, I'm afraid, especially from the agriculture side, of like what's going to happen. I think there'll be craft makers of cannabis products spread throughout the country, which is going to be okay. But cultivation, agriculture is meant to be in certain places where those crops can grow. And I don't love seeing the proliferation of, greenhouses and warehouses across the country when California can supply it, in a much more sustainable way.
You use the word craft to start.
I heard
and I've never heard it described that way for cannabis. Is there an Anheuser-Busch, a Miller Coors for the cannabis industry already? Like, is there giants out there already that are swooping up these craft cannabis farms or whatever?
The farm side they seem to be left out of a lot of the deal making happening in, with those bigger players. And it's unfortunately the push towards making it a commodity. I don't really want to name too many names of the ones that I see as like Anheuser or Miller, but they're developing for sure. Some influence from our northern neighbor, and that's because they legalized. I don't totally blame Canada. It's like they made the right move and made it nationally legal for to do all cannabis activity. But it's influencing, I think, what happens in the U.S. now a lot. How that money flows, and yeah, I think there's an Anheuser out there, and I think and there's more coming. But I do think this cannabis community, like we were talking about, like how we pull in more, and like yes, there's opportunities for more and more consumers, and they're getting educated, but there still is a heavy amount of people that are just part of this cannabis community for a long time, especially in California, that drive the market. So, I think there is still a lot of legacy and craft possible.
All right. Hey, Ruthie, let's get back here though with Paul and go from kind of that general conversation about the industry to the brand. Well, let's talk about the brand chemistry. The first question I know I would like to ask is the name chemistry. Is there a story there?
I mean, it's not meant to be about my path, but I am an organic chemist by training. So that's part of it, is just us leaning into the thoughtful science we do when making cannabis products. But it's also about the chemistry we have as people, between each other, the chemistry we have with this plant. So it's about more than just the book stuff that I did a lot of.
So this is a question that I ask everybody, just because it's fair. This is my favorite question as well.
Can't wait.
Do you remember the first time you got high?
Oh yeah, so I'm from Wisconsin, and it was not very good weed when I was a teenager and starting to experiment. So, yeah, it was driving in a friend's car, picking out some stems and beans.
Probably had to beep somebody to come down from their apartment to bring it.
Yeah, you can tell how old I am.
That's the way, hey, Paul, that's the way it was for me too, dude. I had to beep the guy, show up at his place, beep him when I got there. He came down, little bag, stems and seeds. You picked it all apart. Had no idea what it was. Didn't know anything about sativa or indica.
Oh, yeah,
Didn't know what it was
weed.
supposed to do. I had no idea.
Oh, this guy.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
But
kidding.
yeah, it was like that. Being inconspicuous and driving around the country, or not the country, just like the rural areas of Wisconsin, clouding up a car, listening to music, and then telling
Like that 70s show.
and then
right there.
telling parents that we went to the bowling alley. That's what we did.
That's nice.
It was the bowling alley or a bonfire. We had a lot of those.
So is that what sparked your passion to become a chemist, or to begin in this industry?
I mean, the long time just enjoyment of cannabis, honestly, is part of it. Like, before I understood its medicinal power, like when you're that young, you're maybe not using it that way to like heal something, but like even if you can laugh with your friends back then or like relax, like it's probably good, especially the stress of, I mean, I wouldn't say teenagers shouldn't do it, but like early 20s, now that's okay. But it really was until college, and then I started having great mentorship and understanding more the medicine side of natural products in general, not just cannabis. But then, yeah, really just following the evolution of the data that was coming out of not just the U.S. but like Israel about the potential of CBD or THC, and especially full spectrum products when it's not just like an isolate. That's part of our mission, is to make full spectrum products that represent a strain and tell the story of a farm and have more than monotherapy. So coming from the drug world, we're used to just pick one molecule and see if it works. And the beauty of cannabis is there's so many of them and they work in harmony.
Well, that's what's interesting, because like when I think of cannabis, I think it's always marketed as like natural. It's grown, you smoke it, it's a flower. The chemistry side of it is never anything that's like really marketed that way. Obviously there's chemistry. You're making tinctures, you're making gummies, you're making edibles, like. But why did you decide to lean into the chemistry side of it? Because of your background, or did you just is there like a market out there for like the science of cannabis?
I mean, especially back in 2016 when we still were in the medical market only, and that's really where we focused at first was, making sure we had the best medicine for patients. And it's evolved from just tinctures and vapes for us to a broad line, like where we have infused pre-rolls and gummies and collaborations with our farms. So really for us, it's just about access and quality, and now and collaboration.
Ruthie, what kind of products from the chemistry brand? And by the way, for everybody that's watching and listening, the website is trychemistry.com, trychemistry.com. And Paul Roethle is the founder of the company. And should we be calling you Dr. Roethle? Or, I mean,
yeah, I feel like we missed
I
out
like
on that.
I know.
I know you have a
If I had
PhD.
a bigger ego, I'd make you all call me Dr. Paul.
But Ruthie, what kind of products do you find a lot of success with in Tory Holistics with the chemistry brand? Because I went in and I said, hey, I've never used the brand chemistry, but we're going to have Paul on the podcast. So I said, let me get a couple of products. And Paul, I would much rather vape than smoke. I do like gummies as well, but I got your AC/DC cartridge.
Yeah.
What do you find, Ruthie, that people come in and seem to like?
Well, that's a very popular one. I have the dog named Sue. So, but look, I'm almost out of my Trident tincture. I love chemistry tincture
Our Emerald
so
Cup.
much. Yeah.
The Serpentine is an Emerald Cup winner, another balanced CBD vape.
Yeah. These are my go-tos, so I absolutely love them. But I did want to ask Paul, I think this is a great opportunity to educate our listeners on full spectrum and isolate. I don't think that there are very many people outside of the industry that understand that. So if you could give us a quick little education lesson on that, I think that would be really
Sure.
helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I touched on it when talking about like monotherapy and thinking about like the bigger way we address medicine, but thinking of it that way. So like an isolate is, pulling one thing from the plant and trying to purify it to, as high a level as possible. And that's possible. You can do that from hemp to isolate CBD. You can get isolated THC if you really, really refine it. In our market, it's more like distilled versus full spectrum. So that's kind of the differentiator for us, where there's some level of ripping apart components of the plant, where again, we're just trying to keep them together. And that's what makes full spectrum.
Sorry, can you give us an example of like a isolate product in the cannabis industry?
I mean, you'll find certain products that are just CBD. In the THC side, it's usually not refined to that level.
Okay.
Typically in a flower either, but usually you're not trying to rip out every little minor cannabinoid or obviously terpene. Like THC products, people are generally okay and want that entourage effect.
Yeah.
But when thought about how it was studied, like THC by itself has been studied, CBD by itself has been studied, but then like the natural mixtures have been studied as well. And they are generally more efficacious as a medicine. And I also think
together
more enjoyable, if you think of, what we see in dispensaries in terms of like dabs. Imagine if you take a dab of a, diamond that's nearly pure THCA versus like, hash or something that's more representative of the plant. Like the high is way more nuanced than just like a rocket ship to the top.
I think that's what John Browner likes.
Yeah.
You like the rocket ship.
Yeah, I'm a rocket.
Yeah.
I'm a rocket man.
A ticket straight to the moon.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm a rocket man.
I'm excited to try both of these. I've got the AC/DC cartridge here, and I've got the electric jaw here. I'm super excited to try these, and that's really kind of where we started, is like the difference between the effect of flower versus the effect of vape.
Yep. Yeah, I mean the vape is just a nice controlled way again, where I think you can dose nice and easily, and then you don't have to smoke, whether it's for a convenience or being inconspicuous reason, or just not wanting to combust.
I don't have a question about this. I just wanted to tell you that the way that you market or package your pre-rolls, it makes me want one so bad. Like it just looks like candy, dude. Like honestly, like look at these things.
Oh, those, yeah, the single.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like all the GMO cookies, like Blue Dream. Like I feel like I'm gonna have like a joint of Pop Rocks or something. Awesome.
Yeah, I love what we did with the Project Fusion. That's our newest product line, and it's really, I think, expanded and completed our offerings from, what you might say the traditional stoner to, the medicinal patient that's looking for a tincture for a specific ailment. We kind of have all of that now.
Tinctures.
Paul, what's your
Ruthie
favorite?
loves them.
Yeah, I do love them. Paul, what's your favorite product?
Oh man, it's like picking my children, right?
That means you can definitely pick one.
I can do that. Hey, Paul, I got 4 kids.
Yeah.
I can tell you which one's my favorite.
You can pick one. That's not a good excuse around here, brother.
It changes daily. It changes daily. Maybe yours does too.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on that day? I would have to say the Project Fusion pre-rolls, especially this size.
Oh, what's
that? The gram. Oh, have you not seen that? So
that looks really fun.
Cool.
Multi-pack of these. The joints are already smoked in this one. But yeah, I've been enjoying my end of day joint a lot these days, and this under a gram is perfect. Like a gram infused is a bit too much for me generally, so the 2/3 of a gram is right on. But I'm I can find anything any time of day that suits what I need. A little something balanced to get me going in the morning and get creative. A little something with CBN at night to help me go down.
Yeah, the doctor, you could probably whip up a nice little cocktail for yourself, depending on your mood. You're like, oh, a little bit of this, a little anxiety, a little bit of tension. I want to, you know what I
The
mean?
cannabis apothecary. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
someday that'll happen again, and we can like give people, a nugget from a jar or make them up some cool concoction right in front of them.
That would
Ain't
be
nothing
cool.
wrong with being a chef in the kitchen if you're trying to eat, if you know what I mean.
Kind of.
Hey, Paul, I'm telling you, man, we got to get you down here. Tory Holistics is like the legendary shop of all of San Diego, and everybody knows it.
It is.
But I don't know if you know this or not, but Roethle and her team just opened California Holistics, which is probably about, I'd say, 30 miles south and probably just a few miles north of the border between California and Mexico. And it's just blowing up as well, with so many. Well, I mean, first of all, it's a bigger shop. I mean, it's Ruthie, you could tell Paul more about it, but I mean, if you come down here, you got like a 2-city tour. You got Tory Holistics and California Holistics, and we'd love to see you down here.
Sure.
Yeah, we had chemistry at our opening. They're always fantastic to have at Tory and California Holistic. So
yeah, we love you guys and have appreciated your support for all these years. It's, since we're not, down there, like we have to have great partners like you to help, do some education with us. And your team is amazing. And it's been a fun ride. And I promise to come down there in 2022.
All right,
do
man.
it,
Well,
Paul. We'll throw a big party when you come down.
absolutely. Darn
Come
right
down
we
with
will.
Tina and all our other friends from
We
up
will.
there.
We'll come there and make it smell like the farm or the lab. We'll bring
I love it.
a bunch of burps and a bunch of soil.
Well, Paul, it is great to talk to you. And like we always tell everybody who comes on this podcast, this is your first time, but certainly not your last time. We look forward to catching up to you again in the future. And congratulations on all of your success. And like I said, I got 2 brand new chemistry carts. I'm going to bust them out and I'm going to try them both.
Appreciate it. You'll enjoy them.
I'm looking forward to it. Hey, Paul, thank you very much to everybody who's watching and listening. We really appreciate you guys being here. And we'll see you. This is episode 8. So we'll see you next on episode 9 of the Holistics Highlights podcast.